Today we are talking about publishing, and I'm sure that there are millions of you that could give advice. I just bring my 2 pence into the topic. Now, the issue first is why do you want to publish? Don't publish for publishing's sake. You remember that the reason you are publishing as an academic is to share your research, to share your findings with others. Because otherwise, you will be a hoarder, somebody that will just fill your academic house with things you know that nobody will ever know, and it will all die when you die. So, which is completely stupid. Because an academic is someone that is meant to discover, dig out, and share. We are a distributor of goods. So once you have chosen your domain, your area of research, go for it with all your might. And remember that your time is short. No one can boast that he or she is going to live till 100 or 120. It's all in the hands of God for me as a Christian. And so my time is very precious. And I have to divide my time in a wise manner between my family and my job. And job for academics continues in retirement. You don't retire from research. You just go on. If you do retire from research and you're not sick, then there's a problem with you. Okay? So once you have decided to write, say for example you are writing about the tortoise in XYZ folktales, that is your idea, but it's still a hypothesis. And my first advice is to start reading wide about the tortoise, reading wide about the author you're analyzing, reading wide about folktales, and just like ripples of waves, read and read and read, so that you don't go and publish something that is already published. We don't want to follow a motorway. Absolutely no interest. Research is a niche. You research something that is not known, and when you find out, then you are not going to duplicate something that has already been said. And in fact, that is probably one of the reasons of plagiarism. Picking a topic that is overstudied and then go and copy what people have already written, which is pitiful. So make sure you read wide. And if you are in command of several languages like English and French or Spanish, German, wide languages, then go for it in your reading. Don't limit yourself to one language. Even if you write in only one language, you can always translate. So, no problem. Secondly, you start considering what was published on the subject. That is called literature review. And analyzing what has been published. Was it satisfactory? Was it complete? Was it, correct? Or were there mistakes? Or were there holes that nobody dug into? So you have to analyze that literature review. Review it thoroughly. And then you start writing what comes to mind. Forget about plan or anything like that. You're just jotting down your ideas. In French, we call it en vrac. That is, just as it comes, as you would fill a basket of goods from the supermarket. Just write whatever. And then when you feel dry and the whole work is complete, then you start preparing a skeleton. What do you want to say? Where do you want to go? What is your hypothesis? It's not just describing something, but you have to propose something. You have a hypothesis about what you are going to write. And then your article will refute that hypothesis and end up either saying, well, I was right, or not quite, or, well, yes and no, but you build a skeleton, and the skeleton will have signposts, that where there are turns, twists and turns in the argument. But you make sure, that your skeleton provides an argument that is progressing satisfactorily. Your skeleton is a skeleton and it doesn't need to be developed. Only when you are satisfied with your skeleton, then you start filling it. And you can take as a model the book of Ezekiel chapter 37 in the Bible, that talks, obviously spiritually, but it talks about skeletons. And the chapter tells you how skeletons gradually built to end up being an army of people that were very much alive. And that is what your article will be. So you fill the skeleton gradually, one item after the other. If you run dry on part of it, you just jump, take another one, and gradually, your skeleton will fill gently. And remember at this point that it's God that guides his people to write. So if you are not a Christian, then I'm telling you, you are missing something. Yeah? Missing something. In terms of quality, and in terms of time, and in terms of publication, because you may end up not being published. If you're a Christian, you pray and God by his Holy Spirit will be there. So actually it's two of you writing, and the end result will be perfect. Okay? So you fill your skeleton gradually, and when the draft is complete, then you organize a solid progression of the argument and check every signpost, so that people reading you will feel that yes, you are not going round and round, repeating what you have already said in another way, but you are really progressing, so that there is a sense of intellectual satisfaction in the person reading you. Then after that, you start supporting the argument with illustrations and a few quotes. Don't fill half of the article with quotes, but you need quotes to ensure that you prove that what you are saying is true. And of course, you can always argue, oh, after all, it's my field work, I know better. But even if it's your field work, you cannot be a lone star. You find other people that go with your argument, maybe for something else, something related. So use that. And then after that, at each junction, you place a sentence that helps people, like a staircase, to move with your argument. And then lastly, when it's all written, you start checking the quality of language and punctuation. And that is not an afterthought. It's not something that you can avoid. In fact, it's what ruins many articles. As a reviewer, regular reviewer for journals, I know how many articles are, calamitous, because the person didn't even know how to use full stop or comma. And then errors, typos, and grammatical errors usually fill these articles. And unfortunately, this ruins the thought, because it can come to a point where you may have brilliant ideas, a good progression of the article, but written in such a way that people cannot even understand what you are saying. So you see this is very, very important. And then don't use Google Translate. I know people are doing it. You have a quotation from, say, German. You don't know German, so you put Google Translate. Don't do it. The or the opportunity to translate from Word is far better. But even at that, if you have no knowledge of the language, ask a native speaker whether that translation is correct, because it gives a very bad impression. It also ruins the articles. And then at the end of it all, if you are not too sure, give this to read to someone you trust that will be able to tell you frankly, well, I guess that this, you go on, you could summarize. Okay, here you may clarify some points. Well, that word is not quite the thing. And then in the end, it will be good. So that is my advice. And I wish you the best.